Hi everybody, welcome to the Tronics Basic Dog Training video. I'm Ron Shera and this is my sidekick, Raven. Maybe you recognize her. Raven's the star of Backroads on ESPN2. Raven also is a dog that's been trained with a Tronics collar, which means she's a pleasure to have around no matter where we go. Since 1968, Tronics has been making it easier for dogs to learn by producing the highest quality electronic dog training equipment. Products that are safe, reliable, and simple to use. As the recognized leader in electronic dog training, Tronics has been the first choice for more than 3 decades by almost all top professional and amateur trainers, handlers of national champions, and avid hunters. Expert dog trainers know that these safe, humane, and effective products used in a thoughtful training program make it possible to achieve superior results. Now, whether you're a beginner or an experienced dog trainer, this video will show you how to use this valuable training aid and enhance your dog's performance, even at a distance or around strong distractions. For competitor or companion, Tronics is the leader in remote training. Now you can find the same happiness with your dog the easy way, the Tronics way. To help you reach that goal, 2 of the nation's top dog trainers, Tom Dokken and Catherine Newman, will help guide you through the basics. Tom's up first, so let's get started. Right, Raven? What do you say, girl?
Hi, I'm Tom Dokken from Oak Ridge Kennels in Northfield, Minnesota. This is the Tronics Pro 100. We will be using this throughout most of the tape. Although the procedures we will be using can be used on almost all the Tronics remote trainers. This video is going to talk about how to use the remote trainer to reinforce commands. But before we get started, let's take a look at another way a remote trainer can be useful. That's using it to help solve behavior problems that dogs can have. Maybe your dog is chasing things he shouldn't, which can be very dangerous to him. Maybe he has some other habits that are hard to live with, like digging. If this looks like your dog, you might be interested in using a remote trainer to help eliminate bad habits. Solving behavior problems is covered in this Tronics Basic Training booklet. It's a guide for using the remote trainer to help eliminate 7 common behavior problems. To get the best results when you use a remote trainer for problem solving, we recommend you follow the steps in this booklet. Now, while we're talking about behavioral problems, let's talk about aggression. An aggressive dog is a dog that bites, tries to bite, growls or threatens other people or other dogs. Situations like this call for an experienced trainer to get a handle on everything that can be involved. Using a remote trainer for aggression is for experts because it isn't always the best approach. If your dog is aggressive, we recommend you get help from a knowledgeable professional trainer or an experienced behavioralist rather than try to correct aggression with a remote trainer yourself. A few points to make sure that you take care of when putting your training collar on your dog. Make sure that you have your collar snug up against the dog's neck so your contact points are firmly up against the neck. Make sure also that your LED light is facing forward. It's also important to note that your dog should not have your remote trainer on him for any more than 10 hours during any one given day. That will prevent any rubbing and any discomfort for your dog. To activate your Tronics remote trainer, make sure that your rotary switch is over to 0. Press any of the transmitter buttons and hold it down until the LED on the front of the collar comes up flashing green. This should normally take about 5 or 6 seconds. When you see the LED flash green, your collar is active. When you're done training, deactivate the collar the same way. Again, turn the rotary switch to 0 and hold the transmitter button down until you see the LED on the front of the collar flash red 1 time. This means the unit is now deactivated. This procedure is covered in more detail in your owner's manual. These red buttons on the Pro 100 transmitter control continuous stimulation. Continuous really means controlled. Controlled by the trainer. It means the stimulation is on while you're holding a button down, and it stops when you release the button. There is an automatic cutoff after about 8 seconds, no matter how long the button is held down. The lower button gives low, the upper button gives medium, and both buttons give high. The top button here controls your momentary stimulation, which gives just a brief nick and doesn't depend on how long you hold the button. The Pro 100 has rechargeable batteries. Follow the instructions on correct battery charging that came with your remote trainer. The key to the proper use of the Tronics remote trainer is finding the proper level for your dog's behavior. We want to make sure that our dog is motivated but not overwhelmed. Every dog is going to have a different temperament and personality. We need to find this out before we start our training. You'll find that it'll be easy to maintain your dog's behavior in normal situations with a lower level of intensity. As your dog gets distracted, you're going to find that you will most likely have to motivate your dog with a higher intensity level. We're going to talk about how to find the correct intensity level later on in this video.
Tronics dog collars are extremely reliable and seldom wear out. Consequently, you may be using an older model, but don't worry. Your owner's manual will give you all the details. Remember, the basics of good dog training don't vary regardless of the kind of model you're using. Now, what about dogs that become collar-wise and learn when they can misbehave? Tom Dokken has the answer.
A collar-wise dog is a dog that will only respond to your commands once the collar is on. He associates the collar with discipline. In order to get your dog to respond with the collar off, make sure that every time you put the training collar on your dog, you let him have fun. That way he associates the collar being on with freedom and not confinement. To make sure your dog will respond with the collar off, you do need to have your dog responding positively to all your commands without the use of the remote trainer for at least 30 days. Don't create a collar-wise dog. Have the collar on your dog anytime you may need to correct. Have the collar on during training for at least 30 days after you had to make any correction with it. These rules apply for all of the commands you work on with the remote trainer. You'll find when you start your training that you really are not going to want too many distractions. Too many distractions will cause your dog to really not be responsive to learning his commands. As time goes on, you will be able to give him more commands in distraction situations when he gets ready. Follow that simple step and you'll have control under any situation. When working with your remote trainer, it's important that your training is balanced. You need to do enough work to keep your dog responsive to commands, but you need to play enough to keep your dog enthusiastic. A good rule of thumb is for every minute of work, do a minute of play. This way your dog will always have a lot of enthusiasm. In order to train any dog, there are some key elements for success. Training time, you want to break it down into small segments. Make sure that your sessions are short, and repetition so your dog can gain some success. In order to keep your dog's attitude up, make sure that your dog has an ample amount of playtime. And last but not least, consistency on your part. Dogs are like people. They're all individuals. You need to test your dog's sensitivity to know what intensity to use when you start training. A good way to do this is to set your transmitter on level 1 and just let the dog wander around. When he's not paying attention to too much of anything, that's the time to press the lowest level button and watch for a slight response. If you don't get it, increase the intensity by a level and try again. Keep increasing until you see a response. There, that's what we're after. If your dog acts worried or he's vocalizing, your level is a little too high for your first lessons. Use your continuous stimulation for this test, unless you can't get it low enough for your dog. If you have a very sensitive dog and a model with only one continuous button, you may want to do just a light tap or nick on that button for your stimulation. Once you've found the best level for beginning training, remember it's just a starting point. You may need to go up in intensity if your dog isn't responding, especially when he's distracted or excited. You may need to back off on intensity if he seems to be getting concerned about corrections.
Okay, let's get started, and we'll begin with the most basic of all commands, the command come. You know, a dog that won't come is either never around or always in trouble. You don't want that, and we don't either. How do you teach your dog to come? Well, come on. Tom Dokken will show us.
Here, come on, girl. Wouldn't you love to have a dog that comes just like this? Hey, good girl. Heel. Good girl. To teach the come command, you do need some equipment, a 30-foot check cord and a choke chain. When your dog is off at a distance and distracted, give a light jerk on the check cord, giving the come command. Repeat that command as your dog is coming to you, and make sure you give him plenty of praise when he gets in.
Good.
If you find your dog is not responsive to the come command with your check cord and choke chain, you should increase the repetitions and then increase the intensity of your corrections with the check cord and choke chain. Gradually introduce distractions and then gradually increase distractions. The dog is ready for the remote trainer when he's coming on the come command without you pulling the check cord, even when distracted. Once again, to teach the come command without using the remote trainer, teach your dog to come on a check cord. Wait until he's at a distance and distracted. Give the come command followed by a light jerk on the check cord. Repeat the come command as the dog is coming towards you. Give lots of praise as he comes to you. Gradually introduce distractions, then gradually increase the distractions. When you see your dog starting to respond to the come command without giving the jerk on the check cord, it's time to go on to the remote trainer. When we start to work our dog on the remote trainer for the come command, we're still going to be using the check cord with the remote trainer. When your dog gets at a distance, give your dog the come command while giving a pull on your check cord. At the same time, be pressing your remote trainer button. When your dog starts to come towards you, release the button and make sure that you give your dog praise when he comes back in. Over a short period of time, you'll see your dog will be just responding to the remote trainer itself. If you're having trouble with the come command with the check cord and the remote collar, a good rule is to go up one intensity level on your remote trainer. Once you find the level that your dog is going to be responsive at with the remote collar, you may find that you'll have to stay there for a while. If your dog becomes responsive over a period of time, it may be possible to back down to a lower level. If you're having a problem with your dog hugging too close or not wanting to move away, you need to space your repetitions farther apart. Maybe only 1 or 2 in a session. And be sure and play with him a lot during your training session to keep him relaxed. A dog has a lot to think about when he's starting a lesson, and you don't want too many distractions at first. When he's ready for distractions, be sure to add them gradually. Start with easy ones and get a little more exciting each time. You'll know your dog has mastered the come command with the remote collar when your dog is now coming and being responsive to the come command without the use of the correction. To recap the come command with the remote trainer, have your dog on a check cord, wait until he's off at a distance and distracted, give come command with a light pull on the check cord, press your transmitter button at the same time, release the button as soon as your dog turns and starts towards you. Give lots of praise as he comes to you. Now that your dog is coming with the remote trainer, we can gradually introduce some distractions. Give your dog a chance to come without a correction when he hears the first command. If you need a second command, press the transmitter button. Release it if he turns and starts to come. When your dog gets to you, make sure that you give him plenty of praise, as this will be his reward. If your dog doesn't respond to the remote correction, pull the check cord, reminding him of what the come command is all about. Remove the check cord once your dog has responded reliably to the remote trainer correction several sessions. If your dog doesn't become responsive with practice, increase your intensity with the remote trainer. And likewise, make sure he gets plenty of praise when he does the command properly. To recap the come command with distractions using the remote trainer, gradually introduce distractions. Give the dog the chance to come without a correction when he hears the first command. If you need a second command, press your transmitter button. Release it when he turns and starts to come. Praise your dog when he gets to you. If the dog doesn't respond to the remote trainer correction, pull on the check cord. Remove the check cord when the dog has responded reliably to the remote trainer correction for several sessions. If your dog doesn't become responsive with practice, increase your intensity. Most of the Tronics collars have the audio tone feature. When you press this button, the collar makes a high-pitched tone. The tone can be used to signal your dog when he is a long way away from you, at any range that you could reach him with the collar. You can use the tone for long-distance praise or a long-distance warning. For introducing the praise tone, get the dog used to the tone by sometimes pressing it when he's playing. Press the tone button just before praising the dog for many training sessions. Press the tone button at times that the dog naturally feels successful during training. Do not correct or reprimand the dog right after using the tone if you want it to mean praise. Instead of praise or warning, some people like to use the tone as a substitute for a verbal come command. This can be useful when your dog might not be able to hear your voice or when you want to call him silently. After your dog knows the remote trainer correction for not coming when called, it's easy to teach him that the tone means the same thing as come. Start by using the tone every time just before you call the dog. Do this for a couple of training sessions. Then use the tone only and give the dog a chance to respond. If he doesn't, use your remote trainer correction with your verbal come command. Once again, using the tone for your come command, your dog should already know come and understand the remote trainer correction. Press the tone button just before calling the dog for at least 2 sessions. Press the tone button only and give the dog a chance to respond. If the dog does not come, give the verbal come command any collar correction.
Thanks, Tom. Well, now it's time to sit, right, Raven? You know, the command sit is important for many, many reasons, and here to guide you through the Tronics way is pro trainer Catherine Newman.
Wouldn't you love to have a dog that sits like this? Hi, I'm Catherine Newman from Augusta Training Systems, and today we're going to teach your dog how to sit. The sit is the most basic command that you can teach your dog. It's going to give you added control in situations where there is a high degree of distraction, as well as help cure some basic behavioral problems. When teaching sit, get your dog in heel position. Command sit, pull up on the collar and press down on the dog's rear end. When he sits, praise him immensely. Dogs have different learning styles. Some catch on right away. These are dogs we love to see. Some think about their lessons, and you have to look for success from one lesson to the next. Anytime it seems that your dog simply isn't getting it, it's a good idea just to back up and start again with an earlier step. You're ready to move on to a sit stay and add distraction work when your dog readily accepts your sit command when he's at your side. A few things to remember when teaching the sit at your side without the remote trainer. Your dog is on a leash and beside you. Pull up on your leash and press down on the dog's rear. Praise when he sits. He's ready for the next lesson when he sits on command and you don't need to press on his rear. Once your dog is sitting reliably at your side, it's time to move on to teach the remote sit. And the remote sit gives you added control with your dog at a distance. To begin teaching this, start on a 6-foot leash, wander around, and when your dog is away from you, command sit, and then move in quickly and place him in a sit. Do this several times, giving praise each time your dog sits for you. When your dog is reliably sitting within 6 feet of you, now it's time to move on to a 20 to 30-foot leash. At the next stage, once again wander around, command sit, and wait for the dog to sit for you. If he doesn't, once again, go back and make him sit. If your dog isn't really getting it on the remote sit exercise, you need to back up and work at shorter distances. If he's coming into you when he hears the sit command, instead of sitting right away, try to move quickly after giving the command. This way, you can make sure the dog always sits right where he was when he heard the first command. And there's one thing to remember. Do not say your dog's name before the sit command on the remote sit. He'll tend to respond to his name by coming at you instead of sitting. So just give the command sit. When our dog is sitting promptly at a 30-foot distance from us, when he hears sit, we know he's ready for the next step. A couple of reminders for the remote sit. Our dog is at the end of a 6-foot leash. We do not want him at our side for this lesson. As you're moving about, tell your dog to sit. Step towards him and have him sit. Do not let the dog take any steps towards you before he sits. Go to the dog and release him. Don't release him from a distance. Give lots of praise. When your dog is reliable on a 6-foot leash, practice remote sits on a 20-foot line, but begin to start at 8 to 10 feet and gradually move up to the full 20 feet. At any time the dog moves after you tell him to sit, take him back to the place where he was when you gave him the first sit command and have him sit. Now let's talk about distraction training. It's a systematic approach that teaches the dogs to be reliable regardless of what's going on in the environment. When starting distraction work, start with very easy distractions. We want your dog to experience some challenge, but we also want him to be successful. Start with a 6-foot leash. Tell your dog to sit in heel position and present the distraction. When your dog leaves his sit, go to him and put him back in his sit. Put him in his sit right where he is when he got up, which is heel position. This lets him know he can't gain anything by moving. Now, to review our sit-stay with distractions. Place your dog on a 20-foot leash. Tell your dog to sit. Start with a shorter distance, 8 to 10 feet, gradually moving up to 20 feet. Introduce mild distractions. If your pet moves, put him back on a sit in his original place. And when you go to release him, give him lots of praise. Gradually increase your distractions after you've increased distance. Here's our dog, and he's ready now for collar work. Again, our dog is trained all the way through on his leash on this command. The first thing you want to do is go to a place where you've already trained the dog on the sit command. Because your dog has been trained in this situation, he recognizes that training is about to occur. Our dog is in heel position. We're going to walk forward a few steps and bring our dog into the sit. Once again, command sit and apply stimulation with the collar. Again, command sit. Because your dog knows the command, he should go into the sit position. You'll want to release the button when your dog's bottom hits the ground. Praise immensely. If you're running into any difficulties, it may be that your dog simply doesn't know what's expected of him. If our dog seems to be stumbling with the basic concepts, go back and teach on leash. You know your dog understands this exercise when he's looking at you with anticipation. You see that as you slow down to stop, he's already dropping his bottom to the ground. You can see that the light bulb is going on for him because he's trying to beat the collar. He's grasped a big idea here about his collar work. Good dog. Here are a few things to remember when training the sit at your side with the remote trainer. Your dog is on a leash. Walk forward a few steps, then command sit and press the button. Command sit again and help the dog with upward leash pressure. Release the button when the dog sits and praise the dog. Now, an important comment about using the collar. With any command, you may run into difficulties. The most common thing that people do is they try to use the command before the dog is truly reliable. If you're running into this situation, it's important that you go back and do distraction training. What you're going to see here is a setup using the collar on distraction work. Our dog is in a sit position and the handler is at the dog's side. Our training partner is going to introduce a distraction. We're looking for building on success, so we first introduce our distraction dog at a distance. Our training dog wins and we praise our dog. Now we introduce our distraction a little closer and make it a little bit more challenging. Again, our dog wins and he gets lots of praise. Now our distraction dog is coming much closer and our training dog may break his sit command. If he does, we give a slight correction with the collar and repeat the sit command. When our dog sits back down, we praise him and the distraction dog simply walks by. You can see that Thunder has really mastered this lesson. Here are a few important things to remember when teaching the sit command using distractions. The dog is at the handler's side. Command the dog to sit. Our assistant introduces a mild distraction. If the dog moves, correct with the collar as you command sit. When the dog resists the temptation to move, praise him. Gradually increase your distractions. Now our dog is ready for the remote sit with the collar. Let him wander away and command sit. As you see, the first time he doesn't respond, so I give him just a little nick with the collar, and I go back and make him sit. Now I repeat. I let him wander away and again command sit. This time I give him just a little nick with the collar, and as you can see, he responds appropriately. Good dog. When your dog is sitting quickly, happily, and reliably on command, even at 50 feet from you, you know he's graduated with an A+. If your dog is having a lot of trouble with the remote sit when you start the collar and he tries to come to you instead of sitting, here's a trick to help him learn. My assistant and I use 20-foot leashes to guide the dog, keeping him between us. I command sit and press the button. I release the button when his bottom hits the ground. Now he learns he must sit exactly where he's told, and the quicker he does that, the quicker the stimulation will stop. The 2 leashes keep him from going to a person before he sits. Here's a few things to remember when training the remote sit command using the remote trainer. Our dog's on a 20-foot line. Let the dog wander away from you. Command sit. If the dog does not sit immediately, repeat the sit command as you correct with the collar. Praise him when he sits. Don't let the dog take any steps towards you before he sits. Walk towards him and have him sit.
Thanks, Catherine. Now, so far, your dog comes on command and sits too. Well, there's one more command your dog should know for complete control, and that's the command heel. So pro trainer Tom Dokken rejoins us now with a lesson on teaching your dog to heel.
Wouldn't it be nice to have your dog heel like this every time? The heel command is a very important command. If you find that your dog is constantly forging ahead and keeping the leash tight, to teach your dog the heel command, start with your leash and choke chain. Give lots of encouragement for walking beside you and keep your leash loose. If he is forging ahead or lagging behind, correct with your leash. Anytime you aren't correcting, be sure your leash is loose. If you're having trouble with the heel command, especially with a larger dog, you probably need to increase the strength of your correction. Also, give plenty of practice when you're teaching heel, and plenty of praise when he's doing well. When your dog is finally in a position where you can leave the leash in a loose position and he'll walk with you for 100 yards or better without tugging on the leash, you're ready to make your move to the remote trainer. Once again, the points to remember when teaching heel without the remote trainer are: have your dog on a leash with the choke chain, encourage him to walk by your side, give quick leash corrections in the opposite direction of any mistake, keep the leash loose and give lots of praise when he's walking at your side. Now we're ready to move on with the heel command and the remote trainer. At first you use your leash with your remote trainer for heel corrections. Then use the remote trainer for corrections for errors of 4 feet or more. Use the leash for minor mistakes. As your dog gains experience, use the remote trainer for smaller errors, gradually increasing distractions. When your dog is reliable, go off leash and use the remote trainer only. Give lots of praise and keep lessons fun. If your dog is having problems staying in the heel position when you go to the remote trainer, keep him on a leash. Be sure to use your leash to help him, along with your remote trainer. If he's hugging you and pressing too close, use your remote trainer only when he's 4 or 5 feet out of the heel position, not for little mistakes. And be sure your level of intensity isn't too high. Practicing left turns will also help him keep his distance when he's heeling. If he seems to be getting bored or lagging behind, you need to give him lots of praise and always keep it fun for him. That way, your dog will always have a great attitude. So remember, when using the remote trainer on the heel command, use your leash with your remote trainer for heel to start with. Then use the remote trainer for corrections of errors of 4 feet or more. Use the leash for minor mistakes. As your dog gains experience, use the remote trainer for smaller errors and gradually increase the distractions. When your dog is reliable, go off leash and use the remote trainer only. And finally, make sure to give lots of praise. This will keep your sessions fun.
You know, somebody once said that a quiet dog is a happy dog, sort of like Raven. Well, with that thought in mind, it's time to teach your dog the command down. It makes for a more contented partner. Once again, here's pro trainer Catherine Newman.
Wouldn't you like your dog to lay down this quickly when you give him the command? Down is one of the most useful commands that you can teach your dog. To teach the down, have your dog on leash and at your side in a sitting position.
Take a small treat and hold it underneath his nose, bring it down between his paws, and draw it out toward you. What will happen is your dog's nose will follow the treat to the ground and he'll lie down. Give him lots of praise. Once our dog is lying down for the treat, when you draw it out along the ground, start applying gentle leash pressure downward at the same time you lower the treat. Again, heap on the praise when he lies down. When you see your dog lying down right away for the treat, start saying down as you place the treat under his nose. He should lie down right away. Now he's ready for just the leash pressure to be his reminder to lie down on command, and you can stop using the treat. Go to different locations to practice, and don't forget to give him lots of praise when he lies down on command. If you run into any difficulties with the down command, just back up to an earlier step and start from there again. For example, if he balks and resists the leash pressure, just go back a few more sessions with the treat. Your dog is ready to move on to the collar work on down when he's reliably laying down on command in different locations. Also, if he needs an occasional reminder and you see he readily understands the downward leash pressure and responds to it by laying down. Now remember, these are the steps when teaching down without using the remote trainer. Our dog is on leash and sitting in position. Place a treat under his nose. Lower the treat between his paws and draw it forward along the ground. The dog's nose will follow the treat until he lies down. Praise the dog after he lies all the way down. Step 2. When the dog will follow the treat with his nose and lie down to get it, start using gentle downward pressure with the leash as you move the treat. Praise the dog a lot after he lies down. Now we're ready for step 3. Start each repetition by giving the command down. Use leash pressure to guide him down and praise the dog a lot when he does lie down. Give him the treat after he lies down. Phase out the treats. Use the leash pressure as a reminder if he doesn't lie down on command.
Now we're ready to introduce the collar on the down command. Once again, go to a location where your dog is comfortable and you've done training previously. Place your dog on a sit. Command down, and as you say down, press the button on the collar. Again, use gentle pressure on the leash until the dog hits the ground. Once the dog is laying on the ground, release the pressure of both the collar, meaning stop pressing the button, and release the pressure of the leash. Praise your dog. Release the dog and move to a new location. Now, some dogs may have some difficulty with the down command. If you run into any difficulties, here's one simple technique that you can try. Put the collar on the back of the dog's neck, so the collar is resting behind the dog's ears. Again, snug up that collar.
Remember to lower the intensity by a level anytime you put the collar in an unusual location like this. That's because the dogs are more sensitive on the back of the neck.
On the down command, you know that the light bulb has turned on when you say down and your dog drops to the down quickly but happily. That's your benchmark.
Here are the important points to remember when teaching the down using the remote trainer. Use a training area that's familiar to the dog. The dog is on leash and in a sit position. Command down and press the remote trainer button. At the same time, guide the dog down with the leash. Release both the transmitter button and the leash pressure the moment the dog lies down. Release the dog and move to a new place in the training area to repeat the sequence. If the dog gets up before you release him, press the button and command down again.
Well, congratulations. You and your canine buddy are now a team who respect each other. You know, that's the beauty of having a companion dog, and that's the magic of training the Tronics way. Remember, some of these lessons may need a refresher. If that's the case, you may want to review this video or call the folks at Tronics. They're always willing to help you have a better canine citizen. Thanks for watching. I'm Ron Shera.